You put up a motion, though, and I think we've got a copy of it up on screen here showing what was deleted, but you suggested that the party should abolish its policy of net zero by 2050. And that was deleted, and weasel words about a practical approach to lowering carbon emissions were inserted in its place. This is a big call for you. You want to abolish the 2050 target.
Well, it was a motion actually from John Anderson and former Senator Wacker Williams. It was debated, and of course you have, I suppose, a responsibility for people in your electorate to support the motions that they send to a federal council, but it was debated and it was lost, and I accept that. I accept the democratic process. Later on, a further motion came up that asked for an immediate moratorium on large-scale wind factories and large-scale solar factories and referral of them to the EPBC Act for a proper, more diligent approval process, and that went through. I think it went through unanimously at the Nationals Federal Conference.
But do you personally believe that 2050 net zero target should be dropped by the coalition?
Well, I'm a member of the Shadow Cabinet, and this is a position that the Federal Conference has endorsed, and my job is to be a barrister on their cause. I would say that hand in glove with that target, you have to be very aware of the costs, as Net Zero Australia has pointed out, $7 to $9 trillion. That is the same as the combined corporate profits across the globe for a year. It's the same as the cost of the redevelopment of Europe after the Second World War under the Marshall Plan. People have to be aware this is not cheap. This is not the cheapest form of power. This is incredibly dear, and it's incredibly expensive. And I suppose the best way to ground truth that is have a look at your power bill.
But the point is, if you keep chasing this target, if the coalition's committed to this target, A, it probably won't be met. On most assessments, it's impossible to do this unless you go to nuclear. But secondly, as you mentioned, the cost will be exorbitant.
Well, we do support going to nuclear, and I'm very glad of that, because nuclear would mean you don't have to build the transmission lines back and forth over people's properties across the nation at the cost of tens, I'd say in the end, hundreds of billions of dollars. But really important your listeners know, your renewables are incredible. They're not even renewable. There's nothing renewable about a wind factory or a solar factory. They end up in landfill. But incredibly expensive. And Ontario, in the Ontario studies, they quite clearly say that wind is 50% dearer than nuclear, and solar is 400% dearer than nuclear. So please spare me, CSIRO. You've got one view and the rest of the world seems to have a different one.
We'll keep on this issue. Thanks for joining us, Barnaby.
My pleasure.
Yeah, I stand by my prediction that energy is going to be the absolute Achilles heel of the Albanese Labor government, and the coalition's just got to get on the right side of it and push harder for nuclear. And I'd get rid of that 2050 target. It is meaningless.